Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. Tuesday evening settled in like any other. I stood in the kitchen, waiting on the kettle, watching steam crawl toward the ceiling. The house had been quiet since Friday morning, when Betty left for her girls' trip. 3 nights felt longer than I expected, but routine kept my mind steady. I wiped the counter, checked the clock, and listened for the front door. At 7:21 p.m., the lock turned. Footsteps crossed the floor. A suitcase rolled behind her. When I looked up, she stood in the doorway, smiling. "Miss me?" she asked. "I did." "How was it?" I replied. "It was great. You'd have loved the beach," she said. That smile didn't match the words. It was wide, forced, held too long. Her eyes flicked across the room, not at me, as if searching for something out of place. She stepped forward and hugged me. Her arms wrapped around my back, but the hold felt light, almost careful. No weight, no warmth. The familiar rhythm was gone. "You okay?" I asked. "Of course, just tired," she answered, stepping away. She moved toward the kitchen table, placing the bag down with a quick motion. I noticed a faint scent that wasn't her usual soap. Something sharper lingered in the air for a second, then disappeared. She picked up the coffee mug on the counter, then set it back without drinking. "Long drive?" I asked. "Not really. Traffic was fine," she said. She didn't remove her jacket. That was unusual. Betty hated wearing anything heavy inside. She glanced at her phone on the counter, turned the screen face down, and slid it closer to herself. "You look tense," I said. She laughed softly. "You're imagining things, Brian." Maybe I was. Still, the sound of her laugh didn't reach the rest of her face. Every gesture seemed carefully measured, as if she was following instructions only she could see. She lifted the souvenir bag she carried. "I brought you something," she said, passing me a small magnet. "Thanks," I answered. I looked at it, then back at her. That same bright smile appeared again, held in place like a mask. Something didn't belong in that moment, and I knew it wasn't the quiet. Betty moved around the kitchen as if she was following a routine she hadn't practiced in a while. She opened the fridge, stared inside, then closed it without taking anything out. Her phone sat on the counter beside her hand. Each time the screen flickered, she tapped it dark again before I could glance at it. "So, where did you all stay?" I asked. "At a hotel near the shore," she said. "Nothing fancy, but clean." "Which one?" She paused for half a second. "The Harbor View. I think that's what it was called." I nodded. "You ate out every night?" "Mostly. One night we just ordered pizza and stayed in," she added. That answer came too fast. Betty normally over-explained even the smallest detail. This time she kept things short. She reached for a glass of water, drank once, and set it down. "Did you walk on the beach every day?" I asked. "Friday and Saturday," she said. "Sunday we stayed inside because it started raining." "That's interesting," I replied casually. "You told my sister on the phone it was sunny the entire time." Her eyes met mine for a moment, then drifted away. I probably mixed the days up. Another screen flash. Her hand covered it without hesitation. "Who was that?" I asked. "Just Chloe being annoying," she said, sliding the phone into her pocket. "She keeps sending the same photos over and over." "I thought you said the signal there was bad," I said. "It was. Mostly," she answered, walking toward the sink, back turned, shoulders tight. "We ate dinner with almost no sound between us." She laughed once, at something dull on television, but the reaction came late, like an echo. When she spoke, her voice stayed light, careful, trained. Later, the bedroom filled with darkness. She turned her back toward me and fell asleep within minutes. At 2:33 a.m., a quiet glow broke the dark. Her phone lit up again. One message, no contact name, just numbers. I read the clock. I looked at her back. I did nothing. But I remembered everything. I didn't confront her in the morning. I moved through the day like nothing had shifted. Coffee, shower, work, simple steps. Betty acted normal too, or at least her version of it. She kissed my cheek before leaving and said, "Have a good one," the way she always did. The words sounded right. The tone didn't. By midday, I noticed a pattern. She texted less than usual. When she did, the messages were short. No details, no jokes. At 6, she said she was staying late at the office. Fine, no problem. At 7:30, our bank app sent a notification, a charge from a bar in the city she had just visited. Saturday night, 11:46 p.m. That didn't match her story of pizza and movies. I met my friend Johnny after work at a cafe near the highway. I didn't waste time on drama. I think my wife is lying to me, I told him. He didn't look surprised. Then stop guessing, he said. Start checking. I don't want anything illegal, I replied. You won't need it. People leave trails everywhere. Phones, clouds, emails, accounts. If the truth exists, it will be sitting in plain sight. Where do I start? I asked. Shared access. Anything that ever linked to your laptop. Anything she forgot about. That was enough. I went home before Betty returned. I logged into the shared cloud storage we had set up years ago for photos. Her folders were there, unchanged, still syncing automatically whenever her phone connected to home Wi-Fi. A new album sat at the top of the list. Weekend. My hand didn't shake as I opened it. I wasn't looking for emotion. I was looking for sequence. There were beach photos, drinks, smiles, poses, 3 women in every clear frame. Exactly what she claimed. Then one image loaded slowly. In the background, reflected in a glass window, a 4th figure appeared. A man, close to her. Familiar posture, familiar build. I zoomed in and saw his face. Trevor Hayes, her coworker, the man who once shook my hand at a company dinner and called me lucky. The timestamps matched the bar charge. In that moment, nothing broke inside me. Everything simply lined up. I didn't rush through anything after that first image. I moved slowly, frame by frame, letting each file load before clicking the next. Precision mattered. One picture can be explained, several cannot. In the following shot, Betty was seated at a high table, her hand wrapped around a glass. Trevor Hayes stood beside her, closer than any coworker needed to be. His palm rested near the base of her back. Not dramatic, not hidden, familiar, as if he believed he belonged there. Another image appeared. Same bar, different angle. 4 glasses on the table, not 3. One belonged to him. In the reflection behind them, his smile showed teeth. The timestamp read Saturday, 11:39 p.m. Her message to me that night had said, "Just got back to the room. We ordered pizza." I clicked into the Details tab. Location, same address as the charge from the bank alert. I scrolled further. A rideshare receipt landed in the shared email folder 6 minutes later. Pickup location, that bar. Drop-off, Seabrook Hotel. Her reservation had been at Oceantide Resort. Different destinations, different story. My phone remained silent in my hand. No shaking, no anger, only clarity. Emotion didn't enter the room, only facts. I checked one more folder, recently synced for messages that failed to send due to weak signal. One voice note sat there, 30 seconds long, saved by mistake. I pressed play. Her voice, tilted with laughter. "We really shouldn't be doing this, Trevor." A pause. His reply, low and calm. "Relax. He won't ever know." The file ended. That was enough. I printed only what I needed. 2 photos, 1 timestamp, 1 receipt, 1 transcript of the voice note, and a map showing the distance between the 2 hotels. I placed each page into a plain folder. No highlighting, no drama. I set the folder in the center drawer of my desk. Later that evening, Betty walked through the door, cheerful again. She kissed my cheek. "Miss me today?" she asked. "I had a quiet day," I replied. She smiled. Too wide. I finally understood why. I met Laura Bennett the following afternoon. Her office was small and direct. No distractions. She listened while I spoke. I showed her the folder. She studied each page without reaction. "You stayed calm," she said. "That already puts you ahead." "I'm not looking for drama," I answered. "I'm looking for a clear exit." She explained the process in simple terms. Separation of assets, account protection, property rights, timeline. There was nothing romantic about any of it, just procedure, order, control. "You own the house jointly, but your documentation shifts the balance," she said. "If you act correctly, you keep stability." "What do I do now?" I asked. "Prepare. Quietly." That's what I did. My salary was redirected into a new account before the week ended. I canceled unused joint services. I locked access to shared savings under legal guidance. Every step followed regulation. Nothing hidden. Nothing rushed. That evening I called Johnny. "It's real," I said. He didn't ask questions. "What do you need?" "There are messages synced to my computer. I want copies, clean and complete." "No problem. he replied. Within an hour, the files sat on an encrypted drive. Short texts, casual lines, clear intent, no ambiguity. Later, Betty arrived home. She walked behind me and wrapped her arms around my waist, trying to recover something that had already left. "You've been distant," she said. "I've been busy," I replied. "What are you working on?" "Planning," I said without looking at her. She laughed lightly. "Always so serious." She stepped away and headed for the bedroom. I heard drawers open and close, fabric shifting, a soft tone from her phone. She answered in a whisper and walked into the hallway. I didn't follow. Instead, I placed the folder on top of the dining table. I straightened each page until the corners lined up perfectly. Across from the folder, I set 2 plates. I planned a simple dinner for the next night. Nothing special, nothing tense, just a meal. And the truth. Betty walked in at 7:05 p.m. The door clicked shut behind her. I was already sitting at the table. The plates were set. The food was untouched. "You made dinner," she said, a small surprise in her voice. "Yes," I answered. "Sit." She studied my face for a second before taking the chair across from me. Her posture was polite, cautious. The silence between us stayed firm. "How was work?" I asked. "Same as always," she replied. "Did you speak to anyone from your trip today?" I continued. She hesitated. "Why are you asking like that?" "Because I want to hear it from you," I said calmly. "Brian, what is this? You said Saturday ended early, that you stayed inside, that you ordered pizza." She crossed her arms. "And?" I slid the first photo across the table. She didn't touch it at first. Her eyes moved across the image, then locked up. Her jaw tightened. "That doesn't prove anything," she said. I placed the second print beside it, then the receipt, then the map, then the transcript. "Do you still want to continue?" I asked. Her face drained of color. She pushed her chair back slightly. "It was just one night," she said quickly. "You've already lied 4 times tonight," I replied. "Try again." She covered her mouth and looked down at the table. "You were distant," she whispered. "Trevor just listened." "I didn't remove your loyalty," I said. "You handed it away." Silence dropped around us. The walls felt heavier than before. "It didn't mean anything," she tried. "It meant enough to hide." She reached for my hand. I didn't move. "I want to fix this," she said. "There is nothing to repair," I answered. I slid a final paper toward her. "It's already filed." She stared at the document. "You planned this," she breathed. "No," I said. I confirmed it. Tears gathered in her eyes. "You're really leaving me?" "I already left," I replied quietly. "You just didn't notice." The room stayed still. No shouting, no breaking glass, only truth settling into every surface. And for the first time in days, her smile was gone. Betty didn't sleep in the house that night. She stood in the doorway for several seconds after I finished speaking. Her eyes moved from the papers to my face, searching for something that wasn't there. There was no anger in me, no begging in her, only a quiet understanding that everything had shifted. "I don't have anywhere to go," she said. "You can stay with Chloe," I answered. "She already knows enough to help you." She looked away. "He won't even answer my calls anymore." I didn't respond. She packed a small bag in silence. No slammed drawers, no rushed movements. When she passed me in the hall, she stopped for a moment. Her hand twitched like she wanted to grab my arm, to pull me back to the past we both knew was gone. She didn't. The door closed behind her. The next few weeks unfolded quickly. Trevor avoided her at work. He transferred off her project. Human Resources stepped in and reassigned her to a lower position due to professional boundaries. The promotion she had once chased was quietly removed from the table. Some of her friends stopped calling. Others pretended nothing happened but never invited her out again. The circle grew smaller around her. Our meetings happened only in the presence of attorneys. The house was evaluated, assets were listed, debts were split. She received her portion in money, but the property stayed with me based on contribution and documentation. The signatures felt cold, precise, final. During one short meeting, she looked at me across the table. "You don't even ask if I'm okay," she said. "I'm not responsible for your healing," I replied. Her eyes watered. "You used to be kinder." "I used to be trusted." The judge signed the final decree 3 months after her return from that trip. The word divorced was printed in black, bold, permanent. When she walked out of the courthouse, she looked smaller than I remembered. Not weak, just stripped down to truth. And for the first time since I met her, she had nowhere left to pretend. Months later, the kitchen felt different. I stood in the same place where I had waited for her return, the same counter beneath my hand. Nothing in the room had changed, yet everything had. Silence no longer felt like absence. It felt earned. The kettle warmed. Steam rose slowly. I watched it, steady, patient. A knock came at the door. Betty stood outside, a folder tucked under her arm. She looked thinner, tired. There was no anger in her expression now, no performance left in her face, just a quiet acceptance. "I need one last signature," she said. "Come in," I replied. She stepped inside but didn't cross fully into the space. She stayed near the threshold, like a visitor in a museum of a life that no longer belonged to her. She set the folder on the counter and slid it toward me. I signed without rushing. "You really kept the place," she murmured. "I kept stability," I said. Her eyes moved across the room, touching memories without touching anything else. "You used to laugh more," she said. "I used to believe more," I answered. A faint nod. No argument. She picked up her folder and turned toward the door. Before stepping out, she paused. "You're not angry at all, are you?" she asked. "I was," I said. Then I realized anger still connects you to the person who hurt you. "What do you feel now?" she asked. "Free." She gave a small, honest smile. Not the one that started everything. A real one. Short. Quiet. "I'm trying to rebuild," she said. "That's the right direction," I replied. She stepped outside. I poured the hot water into my cup, the same motion as before. Only the man in the room had changed. This time, the smile belonged to me. And it didn't hide anything. Thank you for watching.